Hey everybody, so this obviously isn't normally how I start off an episode of The Harder Show, but something happened within the last 24 hours within the Harder Show family that I have to just say a couple quick words about. And that is the fact that my brother, Mr. Jason Rees from Jaybird Digital Arts, his wonderful, kind, beautiful mother, Lynda, has passed away after a very long battle with her health. And obviously, as you guys know, if you've been watching my show for the last, or listening to my show for the last 5 years, Jason is a humongous part of this family, and I think of him as I would a brother. So I'm feeling this loss as well. I only got to be around Lynda a few times. Obviously, I'd love to have been around her more, but there are two quick stories I wanted to tell, just kind of in her memory, to show you guys what kind of person she was and how she affected me even in the littlest bit with the few times I got to be around her. The first time I actually met Lynda, or Mama Jaybird, as I called her, Jason had come to my old work to drop something off for me, and she had just come along for the ride, just get out of the house. And when he introduced me to her, I called her Mama Jaybird because, you know, that's just what I called her. And she brought me in for the warmest hug, like she had known me forever and like I was a member of her family. And, you know, we were talking and she was speaking to me like she'd known me for years and was just so warm and kind and fun. Just, you know, I could totally see where Jason gets his personality from, for sure. And that's just the kind of person that she was. You know, and all the time since then that I got to be around her, the same thing, you know, always a big hug, and just, she always treated me so wonderfully. Like, you know, again, like she'd known me for years. And actually the last time that I was around her at the last Chinlock wrestling event, Chinlock 5 that I was at, she was hanging out, you know, being a part of it. And I was standing with her for a moment, and Jason had just walked off to talk to somebody. And we're just kind of shooting the breeze, and she was looking over at Jason with the proudest look. I know how proud she was of the man that Jason is. And I mean, as someone who, you know, whose life has been touched by Jason, you know, I mean, you guys know I can't say enough wonderful things about him. And I think that's a big testament to the kind of person that Lynda was as well. And, you know, Jason, I know how proud she was of you and is of you. And I know that she's going to be with you, brother, all the time. She's going to be watching over you and watching your continued success and be, you know, cheering for you every step of the way, just like I will be. And I'm always here for you, brother. I love you. And you need anything at all, you just reach out to me. And the whole goes to the whole family, Michelle, Bill, everybody of the Rees clan. I'm honored to know the Rees family. And they've been wonderful to me from day one. So I love you guys. Sending all the love in the world, everybody. You know, send your thoughts and love to the Rees family because they really need it today. And I guess the only thing I have to say is rest in peace, Mama Jaybird.
EST 2016. This is interviews, music reviews, opinions, and more. This is The Harder Show.
What is up, everybody? We are rolling out here today in episode 293 of The Harder Show. I have you guys doing absolutely fantastic. Thank you so very much for tuning in and clicking that play button on today's episode of the podcast. I got a really, really fun episode for you here today. I try to do every single week right here on The Harder Show. We are sitting down with two of my new podcast buddies, Kait and Brenna from Lifeless Podcast, which is a kick-ass true crime podcast, if you guys are not aware. And we talk all about how they got into the podcasting world, how they got into true crime, how they met, a little bit about their friendship, the building of their podcast, which is still relatively new, but already they have put a ton of work into it, and just what really grows into doing a true crime podcast. And we also talk a little bit about how they record their podcast and some fun stories about that. And also, they kind of let us know about a new series that they're going to be doing on their podcast that they actually just started last week, as you guys are hearing this, called After Lifeless, which I think is a really badass name for kind of a spin-off show all about paranormal. And Brenna tells us a ghost story. that literally makes the hair on my arms and the back of my neck stand up. Like, seriously, it's freaky. So stay tuned for that. Another great conversation that is had during this episode. You guys are really going to enjoy it. Before we get into it, of course, want to give a huge shout out to everybody who supported last week's episode of the show, my chat with my man Mike Penny from the Jailbirds. That was really fun. Got a couple new fans out of that. So thank you very much to everyone who did check that out. It means the world to me. Mike, thank you very much. Something tells me you might be seeing him again very soon. Who knows? Perhaps. Stay tuned. But with that out of the way, we're ready to roll into my chat with Kait and Brenna from Lifeless Podcast. Let's get into it. All right, so I'm going to say about a month ago, I uploaded this kind of a little throwaway status about the fact that I was having some computer issues. I was like super frustrated. I was just like, bah, because my computer died and I was super fed up. And I put up this little status, and later on in the evening, I had this really nice comment come through, and it was from, I'm going to just read the comment here. It was from a podcast, and they said, "We all need to take a break to readjust. Can't wait till you're back at it." And I saw this comment come through, and I was like, wow, these people seem so nice. I'm going to like add them and interact with them. And little did I know that they were a badass true crime podcast, and that I was going to be like, I immediately need to have these two on the show to talk. So I'm super happy to welcome onto the show right now, Kait, and I'm going to completely butcher your name, even though I already asked. Bren. Well, wow. Holy crap. I just lost it completely. Bren. Holy cow.
It's okay.
Hey guys,
no
how's it
one
going?
gets it right, like, ever.
Guys, I literally just asked her like before, like, hey, how do you pronounce it? I knew I was going to. Anyway, what's up, guys? Welcome to the show.
What's up, man? Thanks for having us.
I'm glad we were able to link up and quickly too. Normally, like, I think I asked you guys like 2-3 weeks ago, like, hey, we should have you guys on the show.
Yeah, it was super fast.
And then it was just the other day, you were like, hey, I'm just trying to, do this. Did you want to do it this weekend? And I mean,
yeah, it worked
all
out.
we do is podcasting and hang out. So
yeah, it worked.
So it just worked out. It's like, hey, we're already hanging out and podcasting, so let's do another podcast.
Exactly.
Well, and it's fun too, because like I told you guys before, I haven't done a lot of digging into the true crime podcast world. Obviously, in the early days of the show, I did it quite a bit because there were an abundance of them at that point. And I was like, oh, hey, like, let's check out this true crime stuff. I thought about getting into it for like 5 minutes and was like, I am not smart enough to do this. I do not have the attention span to do all this research. There's just no way this can happen. So I kind of got out of it, aside from like a couple documentaries or whatever I might watch on the old Netflix. So that was why when, I found your guys' podcast, and right away, just to give you guys a compliment, like right away, I'm like, wow, like these guys have such great banter. And like, you can tell they have a great relationship and friendship because it's just like so fun. And you guys are always joking around, but then it's like, gets super serious and super to the point, tons of information. Like, you guys do so much research. It blows my mind. So
thank you.
We appreciate that. We, believe it or not, half the time we are doing the research like the night before.
Literally, it's so bad.
And we just like jot it all down and get it all done. And then it's like, okay, did you want to record tomorrow?
It's such a bad habit. We were like, yeah, let's record Tuesday. And it ends up being Friday afternoon when we're off work. Like, it's so bad. And then we have the weekend.
We're like still working out the kinks, but it's really easy because we just are so interested in it. And then it just all comes out. And so it's super easy for us the night before to be like, okay, let me look into a case really quick and just get all that information, because we're like a sponge when it comes to it anyway. So
it's easy to kind of, I guess for lack of a better term, kind of wing it when you're really interested in the topic. If you were like, oh, let's do this true crime podcast, even though I hate it because I want to get listeners or whatever, that would obviously not work if you were doing it the night before.
Exactly.
But like the fact that, I mean, I wouldn't have known that if you guys didn't say that. I would have figured you guys did weeks of research. So I mean, just keep the illusion up, guys. Come on.
Right.
Well, I mean, and it's on the other side, they're like, wow, y'all are so good. And,
like, really?
Put that much time into it. So
Yeah.
It's like, oh yeah, I do weeks of research. Totally. Yeah, we have a script and everything.
We do.
Oh man, that's awesome. Well, what got you guys into doing the true, like obviously I want to talk about how you guys got into true crime in general, but just talking about the podcast for a minute, what got you guys to the point where like, hey, we should just do a podcast on this?
I'll let you talk about this one. She
Caitlin.
has a story.
Okay, when I was she works with me. So she started a few months after me and we hit it off right away. And she was always listening to podcasts at work. And I was like, what the hell are you listening to all the time? Because I would try to ask her a question and she would have to pause and be like, what? And then, yeah, literally. I was like, all right. And I asked her and she was telling me it was true crime, like listening to Crime Junkie and stuff like that. And it's so bad. I had no idea what it was. I was like, what is that? And she introduced it to me and I went on a whole binge of like 5 different true crime podcasts.
Yeah,
and
I was
then,
like, here's a list.
Yeah, literally. And then she was talking to me later on about how she's always wanted to do a true crime podcast. Like that was her dream. And I was like, okay, then let's do it. Like, let's do it. And she has always said like, she's always had the great idea of doing it, but I was the one that actually like helped put it into motion and be that second person. So it definitely worked out for both of us.
Yeah, I was like meant to be, for lack of a better term.
This was all meant to come together and you know, your podcasting soulmate or whatever, you know, it's
sure, we'll go with that.
That's awesome. Well, and sometimes all you really need is that extra person involved with the project that you want to do, just to be like, okay, because doing something on your own is super intimidating.
Hard.
Like it really is. And I mean, any projects I've done with a co-host, it's like, I was like, I really want to do this, but I don't want to do another podcast on my own because that's insane. Why would I do that? But then you have, you know, someone come along and be like, oh, this would be kind of cool to do it with them. And you either are going to have that, like you guys have just that natural chemistry where you can, it's just entertaining to listen to. But the fact that, so when was the timeline on this? Was this like, how long have you guys kind of been friends, I guess?
Oh God. When did you start?
She started June of last year and I started in August of last year.
And we hit it off immediately.
Wow.
Immediately.
It's kind of a funny story how like we became friends.
Okay, lay it out. She's already shaking her head. So just lay it out. I need to hear this now.
So I guess I came in there and she, you know, kind of had this like preconceived notion of me. Cause you know, you always dress nice on your first day, like try to make a good first impression. And we like work in an office. So it's like very professional looking. And she was like, yeah, you know, super nice. Like I'll help you learn everything. And I borrowed her stapler. And
I just wanted it back. Let's be clear.
No, she wasn't even asking for it back. She's like, can I just borrow my stapler really quick?
I walked over to her desk. Yeah, I was like, can I just borrow this real quick?
Yeah, and I was like, no.
And I looked at her and I was like, is she serious?
Yeah.
Like, are we doing this already?
You could just tell on her face. She was like trying to like figure out if I was serious.
Like, do I need to be
I was like, are
defensive?
we fighting? Are we fighting?
Is this
like,
really happening already?
Yeah. Yeah. But no. And then like she smiled and I smiled and I was like, I like her. This is going to be a great friendship. And
that's
it
awesome.
was.
Yeah. And then it was only a few months after that I was like, podcast.
I don't even think I think it was like 2 or 3 months probably. She had brought it up and like from the first time she brought it up, I was like, okay, well, let's do it. And we did it.
Yeah.
That's crazy that it was only like a couple of months and you guys just have that. Again, some people just, you guys approve of it. There are some people that just like you meet and you're like, oh, we're going to be friends.
Yeah.
Like it's just, you just know when you have that banter where it's just like
exactly.
Like if you guys told me you had been friends for 10 years, I would have been like, yeah, that checks out. But the fact that it's like, it's been like barely a year. It's like, that's crazy.
Yeah. And she's super into astrology. So she will sit here and be like, I'm a Gemini and you're a Leo and we're like the best match of friends ever. And it's funny because it checks out. Like everything that she reads is so stereotypical, but it checks out.
She's like, oh, she's another astrology girl. And I'm like, but
it's true.
Here we are.
It's hilarious because like my fiance is the same. Like she's very much like not so much in the beginning, but like now, like she'll be like, oh, like she's a Leo too, so like
That's awesome.
awesome. So like, and I'm a Virgo, so technically, from what I understand, we don't make a good match.
Yeah,
Right.
but make a good match. So
you're proof
like,
you're doing just
so
fine.
it's like whatever. So it's all is astrology real?
Right.
I don't know. But sometimes like, she'll send me stuff and be like, oh hey, this is your horoscope or whatever for the day, and I'll be like,
Heart,
wow, okay, yeah, that checks out. So it's crazy. Like it really is sometimes. Like she'll send me something about her and I'll be like, yeah, that checks out.
Yeah, that's accurate.
That's pretty much you to a T.
Yeah.
That's hilarious. But so with the podcast, like I know that you guys, like as you talked about on your show before, like you did start it off and then like you kind of had like a little bit of time where you weren't doing it. Was like, I know obviously that was just life stuff getting in the way. Obviously, like with the pandemic and everything, everyone understands that, hey, some stuff went down. So, so when you guys decided like, hey, we want to jump back in, like now since then you've been cranking out content. So is that something that you guys really wanted to make sure that when you did come back, you had that kind of consistency?
Oh, for sure. I think it was a big time management thing for us. And like you said, it was definitely just life. Like my roommate had COVID, and then not to out you, she had COVID and I had things going on in my family, and then just finding ways around it to make the time, and especially not having a set recording spot. Like this right here, it's not our set recording spot. It's our job. Like we stay after at work and go in an office, and here soon we're planning on getting like a little like she shed type thing.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Like decorate into like a true crime theme. But yeah, I think it was just a matter of like making sure we set the time aside and did it, because Caitlin had said before, like it's something we love. You need to make time for stuff that you love in order to be happy, you know? So that was definitely a big thing for us coming back.
And I think that too, when we were on that hiatus, we still talked about recording and doing episodes and, certain cases that we had, like, I would really like to do a case on this. Like, and I think I kind of brought it up to Brenna, and I was like, we talk about this still every single day almost. Like, obviously we're really passionate about it, and we need to make the time and have a schedule so that it's,
a weekly thing. Like it's
a weekly. Yeah. There's some consistency to it. Yeah.
And, we're going to do it that day because it's already planned.
Yeah.
And so we're kind of at that point now. It's a little bit rocky just because, of course, like she said, the recording place. But hopefully I'm like moving soon, and I'll have like either a yard big enough for a she shed, or I'll have an extra room that can be dedicated completely to podcasting.
For sure.
That's awesome. And that'll make it easier for sure. Like, as someone who I used to have to change all the time where I would record and stuff. And, when you have a co-host, especially too, like when it comes to having that schedule where like, at least you guys work like the same place and stuff. Cause that makes it easier for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was about to say that, like one of my old co-hosts, like we worked at the same place and we worked the same hours. So I'm like, this shouldn't be hard to figure out, but it was hard to figure out. And like, you're like, oh, let's go record at my place. Oh, well, people are home. Oh,
yeah.
Well, hey guys, can you like shut up for like
and your mic still picks it up. Like,
we have so many times where we try to record remotely, and so that, she could be at home and I would be at my house, and her roommate, she would text him because he's like out here in the living room, like talking on the phone. She's like, can you like go to a different room or like whisper?
Yeah.
and he's like goes all the way across the house, and I'm like,
I can still hear him.
Did you get louder? Because I can still hear you.
Hear your whole conversation. But
some people don't understand that, like, hey, we can hear everything you're saying.
These are sensitive mics.
Yeah. I hear everything. My neighbors will be out front doing whatever I live in a not great area. So they're out there screaming at each other or whatever, and I'm just sitting here trying to record a podcast, and I'm like, all you hear is like, I don't care if you die, bitch. And I'm like, whoa, okay. Hey guys, I think I have a case file for you.
Let me just close.
Thanks for tuning in.
I think I gotta go check my mail and like call the cops.
What's going on out there?
Yeah.
You know, I might have a file for you guys to talk about. Jesus, I joke, but like,
pass it up, man.
Yeah, I don't know. But anyway, but it's funny. Like having that dedicated area definitely is super important. You know, especially for. As far as like with the creativity, like I have this little corner of the world here. So like, I know, okay, when I come in here and I sit down at this little desk thing, I'm like, all right, it's podcast time. This is what I'm doing now. I'm not worrying about anything else. So it definitely helps to have that little area. So I'm glad that you're going to hopefully
We're
have
excited.
that.
Yeah, for sure.
Super excited.
It'll be really cool, I think. And like decorating it and everything to how we want will be really cool. I know we're talking about getting some merch soon, so maybe able to put some in there. Yeah.
Okay. Very good. Good to know.
Yeah.
You'll have to keep me posted on that. And that's always important too. Like when it comes to, you know, like obviously like you guys are great with interacting. I mean, hi. with people and stuff like that. So like, that's great to have. But obviously, you know, I find too with like the true crime world and with I'm like super like recently getting into like the audio, like drama, like horror world right now, like hardcore into it right now. Right. And I'm like looking and I'm like, hey, this podcast has been around for 2 weeks and they have merch and they have a Patreon and they have like 30 patrons. And I'm like, how are they doing this? But like, it's that world, right? Like they launch they have Patreons before they launch. They have merch before they launch. And I'm like, oh, okay. Like this is that's a whole other world. It's crazy, but it's good to hear that you guys, even at this point in your podcasting journey, because you guys still all are relatively new podcasts. Like it's only been a few months really. It's good that you're already thinking that far ahead.
Yeah, I think it'll be cool. We want to do obviously shirts and sweatshirts and stuff like that. I'm really excited. It's so minimal, but I'm so excited for beanies. Yeah, I love beanies. Cool. We're going to do some, but she wants to do more of like upholstery? What is it?
Like the embroidery.
Yeah, embroidery.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, like I really want our logo to be embroidered, and that's the biggest thing. I'm a quality over quantity kind of person.
For sure.
So I'm like, if we get merch, I don't care that we're just like, we're new, like we're going to put out quality, like, you know, not only content, but I also want quality products, you know, that people who support us when they buy it, it's something they really like can love and wear for a long time because, you know, I am very passionate about this project. And so to do that and to be supported by people, I really want to make sure that it's going to last, you know.
That's the number one thing, because at the end of the day, like something that I always talk about when I'm talking to other podcasts is just like, at the end of the day, you know, Lifeless is a brand, right? And a lot of podcasts, it takes them a long time to kind of figure out the fact that like, oh, we are a brand. You're not like, yes, the content is super important. And if your content sucks, it doesn't matter how great well, I shouldn't say that because if I'm being honest,
let me take that back.
Let me go ahead and just retract that statement. For the indie podcast world, if your content sucks, it's not going to matter if you have great t-shirts, because people will be like,
your content sucks.
It's like, oh, you have this awesome logo and you have this awesome merch and all this cool stuff, and they got weed tins, cool, awesome. And then you go listen to their podcast and it's like, oh, it's an hour and a half of staticky,
not something you want to listen to.
It's just like, oh, this is not pleasant to listen to. All right. But it still is important when you have, like, I say to everyone, like, okay, getting your content figured out is super important. But once you kind of have your groove, which I feel like you guys are like, you have your groove, you know, you're talking about your new intro, which is going to be very exciting. By the time this comes out, hopefully the new intro is is up, because this will be coming out in a couple weeks. Yep. So awesome. Very good. I'm excited to hear it because you've been talking about it for a couple weeks now. So I'm like, yo, where's this intro at?
Yeah, we were just talking to my roommate and he was walking out the door. We had just showed it to him. And when he was walking out the door, he started like humming it. And he said, this is stuck in my head now. And we were like, awesome.
That's exactly what I was going for.
That's what you want.
So
yeah. So it sounds really good. And it tells a story too. So it's listen to it. It's cool.
Yeah. I'm super
Sure.
excited.
Yeah.
That's badass. I'm excited to hear it. So I'm all about like good intros and like stuff like that. Like really like
it makes or breaks it.
Yeah, for sure. Especially like what you guys do. Like for what I do, it's like, yes, it's important, but at the end of the day, I can't have this really cool long intro because people are tuning into this episode to hear you guys. They don't want to listen to my intro and listen to me ramble on for 10 minutes in the intro about something they don't care about, right? Like at the end of the day, they're here for you guys. So it's like, but when it comes to like what you guys do, or for going back to it again, like the horror narration stuff, like some of the stuff I listen to it and I'm like, yo, it's been 3 minutes and that's still in like the music intro. What is going on?
Yeah.
And I'm like at first I wasn't a fan of it. Now I'm like, oh, I love it. Cause it's like, it puts you in this mindset. And then all of a sudden it's like some creepy shit's going on. Right. So it's cool. I'm excited to hear it for sure.
Yeah. That's actually something that is very important when it comes to horror movies. And you like look at their scores and stuff, and you look at the relation between what kind of music they're playing in the background and how that actually drives the emotion. I think it was like a project somebody did where they took the horror movie and they took out that music, and it was nowhere near as scary as when the music was in there. And it's just crazy how, you know, that can really invoke a lot of emotions and put you in that mindset.
For sure. It's super important. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I mean, I haven't heard it, so I'm going to hear it on the next episode. So I'm super excited. But
that was another thing. I think we moved our podcast posting date to Mondays instead of Sundays for like better listenership and being able to like edit it longer. But yeah, so it should be out this Monday, I believe. Yep.
Cool. Awesome. So as you guys are hearing this Thursday, the following Monday, brand new episode. Go check it out.
Yeah. Shameless plug.
Yes, I'll have the links down below and everything, guys. So check that out. But talking about true crime and horror movies and things of that nature, like you said, Kate, like you kind of already were into it, but what got you into that true crime world and the world of listening to murder podcasts and things of that nature?
She's been weird since she was little. Basically the gist.
Actually, I was telling Brenna like right before we got on that I was trying to think back to, first her roommate joked us because he was like, it's because y'all are both afraid of everything.
We are.
While we sit here and we talk about this stuff, like we're terrified. We're like, you better lock all the doors. Like, you know, somebody can come in, you know? And so I was trying to think back, like why, like where did it start? And my mom, like ever since I was little, she was big into like the forensic stuff or like the medical examiners, which of course like links to like murders and they have to figure out the forensic side of it. And so it started with that. And then, you know, it just got into murder, you know, documentaries and serial killers and learning about the psychology of those. And then I just nonstop from there. It was like,
it was a downhill spiral. It's what it was. I'm kidding.
From there I was just like, true crime, everything. Like you put it on to relax in the evening. And it was around me for my entire life. So I actually wanted to be a forensic scientist for the longest time just because I loved it so much. But
now you're looking into being an investigative journalist though. So
which is super cool too. Like that's
super fucking cool.
Well, and I always said, like, I would have made a great detective. And I looked into it for the longest time. And then come to find out that you have to be a whole cop before you're a detective. And I was like, not
I don't want to be a
right.
cop. I just want to like walk around in like a trench coat and be like,
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
I was looking for clues. Like,
I want the hat and everything. Let's go.
exactly. Like I need the whole vintage glass door that says like investigator.
That's awesome. I love that. You could be like a private investigator.
Technically, we already are.
Fair enough. By the way, I meant to ask you guys, did you hear about, I don't have the name of the podcast offhand, but I saw it on Reddit. Did you guys hear about the podcast that apparently was contacted by it was a true crime podcast. They were talking about a case recently. And I'm sure if you Google it, it'll come up. I wish I had done that, but they apparently were talking about a case and they were contacted by the FBI because apparently they like said something of a theory and apparently the right person heard it and they were like, hey, how did you find this information? Because we didn't have it. So,
oh gosh.
So I don't know what happens now, but
we have to look into that.
Yeah. I don't know if it was real or not. I saw it on Reddit. So I don't know.
You never know.
I don't know, but there's a lot of messed up stuff on there. So I don't know if it was real, but that's just, I meant to message you guys and be like, did you hear about this? Cause
no,
but like, that's my dream. I need to help solve a case. So.
She literally, this is her dream. Like when we've done certain cases, she's reached out to like detectives and stuff like that. And she got a response one time. It was like her first time getting a response. And she ran over to my desk and she was like, oh my God, they contacted me back. So that would be a freaking dream for you.
Yeah, honestly.
Yeah.
I'm like, you need my help. I knew it. I knew this day would come.
Knew it was going to happen. All right, let's go.
Yeah.
Like, I actually have my detective bag already packed, ready to go.
Just pulls out the little hat.
What's the hat? Exactly. Exactly.
I'm just basking in the fantasy of it right now.
Oh my God.
Everyone has
actually got into true crime because of me. Like she barely was a fan of like true crime or even knew what it was about.
Like I said, I hadn't even heard of it. And then she showed me the podcast and literally I was like, what did you do? Like, what did you do? And coworkers would come over and Caitlin would be like, I'm really sorry. Like they're trying to talk to me and I'm just not even listening. It was so bad at first.
Oops,
but
sorry.
yeah, now we know the exact days that they release their podcast. We're listening to them like as soon as we get into work all day. But honestly, it's really cool. Like, yes, I'm afraid of everything. Like to make that record very clear. But yeah, I love it. It's really interesting, like how much goes into some cases and to be able to have our own podcast and be able to do that research and like see all the details behind it. It's really, really interesting. And I love it for sure. Yeah.
That's awesome. What were some of the podcasts? Like I think you mentioned a couple already, but again, as someone who knows not much about them, what were some of the podcasts or what are some of your favorite podcasts now that you like to listen to for true crime?
Crime Junkie for sure. I know there's Anatomy of Murder, which is really, really good. They break it down a lot. Murderish is good. They come out with a bunch of different ones. What is the one? Counterclock has one, but they do it as like a whole series as one case.
Yeah.
Okay.
But that's nice because there's a lot of detail in it.
And it's all cases that are like, they tend to be like unsolved and, you know, they're still looking for information on it. And she kind of goes through and dissects that. So we really like the ones that go in and kind of break it down and really get into the nitty gritty of the details. But yeah, we tend to really like Audio Chuck, who Ashley Flowers is a huge true crime person, and she has so many under her production company that like all of hers are really good. But we also, the girl who made our intro, they also have a true crime podcast, and we just found them, and they're kind of newer too. Like they've been doing it for a few months longer than we have.
I think so.
But it's called the Vial Files, and they are so good.
They're fantastic, honestly. Like check
the
them
Vial
out.
Files. That's badass. I think you guys mentioned them. I think now I'm remembering. I don't know what I thought you said, but the Vial Files. That's awesome.
Yeah, we've shared some of their stuff, but they are really good, and they have like a little bit of banter and everything, and then they get into they'll have like snippets from recordings and like news audio and stuff like that. Yeah, which is really cool. But they're doing real good for themselves.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's a lot of digging and stuff too. Like that takes.
Oh, for sure.
I tried. Like I used to dabble a lot in like unsolved mysteries and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I used to be like, I'd be like, all right, like I did like one, and I was like, here's a bunch of stuff, and people were like, do that more, and I was like, oh crap, okay,
great.
So
Thanks.
I tried to like
That's what I
find
wanna
like
do.
yeah, exactly. So I tried to like find like news clips and stuff, and like I spent like a month working on one episode, and I released it, and then like I was like, well, you already talked about these ones. I'm like, but I have news clips and stuff now.
Like it's new information. I haven't told you.
I have, and they're like, well, yeah, but you already talked about this. So I'm like, oh, so wait, you want me to do 10 new things with those news clips trying to solve this information? I'm like, nah, I don't need this.
Exactly.
This is not what next. Thanks.
Well,
Thank you. Next.
With that too is like, Caitlin was telling me you can get copyrighted and everything else if you're not careful.
Oh yeah.
So you have to be like really strategic about it.
Yeah. And I think that's like the biggest thing for us, because we had talked about it. And even when we post the pictures of, either the killer or the victims, where I'm like, we gotta make sure to at least cite our sources. Cause I'm so, in the podcasting world, it's so easy to just get cited for something so small, or, what information you use and not citing it. Like, they'll come after you.
Oh, for sure. You have to be, hi, that happened to me. I was like, oh, hey, here's some stuff. I don't even know what it was. And I mean, I was roasted, like just like 10 or 12 messages, like, why are you even talking about this? Like, and I was like, okay, I learned my lesson. I was like, I'm just gonna not talk about this unless and rightfully so. Like, if I'm gonna come on and say, hey, here's what I think happened with this murder or whatever it was. This was like a lifetime ago now. And I don't say, hey, here's where I got this information.
You're right.
Like, well, where are you finding this? Like, are you just going on Google and typing in what happened to this person and just reading off whatever you find? Like, you need to have some more, you need to do a little bit more research. You can't just go on a top 10 website and be like, oh, they said this happened, so I'm going to believe them. Like, come on, dude.
That happened to Crime Junkie too. She was telling me they had like 10 or more episodes that they had to delete. And I was like, oh my God, can you imagine the time you've spent creating that content and then you have to delete it all because of copyright and like plagiarism, things like that. Insane. I couldn't imagine.
Yeah. So we're kind of like, hopefully we'll get to that point where we can use a little bit more of, interviews clips or investigation clips, but just for our safety.
For sure.
We're just citing our sources. Yeah.
Definitely. And I think that as great as all that stuff is, like, as someone, just speaking for myself, as someone who is just a fan of like audio podcasts, just with someone speaking about something, like, I find that for me, like, as great as it would be to maybe have like a 10-second clip or 15-second clip of something, it's like, as long as you're getting the information and then you guys are citing it, like, it's the same thing, really. It's just, you don't have to worry about
someone else's mouth.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah. You don't have to worry about, for some reason, it being flagged. And next thing you know, you're being contacted by the news outlet and they're saying, oh, you used our clip and you need to delete that episode. And it's like,
this is not the way I wanted to get famous.
Yeah, exactly.
That's it. Yeah, for sure. Especially if you end up doing it on, like, putting it up on YouTube or anything, like,
which is what we want to do at some point. We want to start recording ourselves, because there has been so many times that we have not been recording yet and like had literally like irreplaceable banter. And we're just like, wow, wish we were recording this for like
record
YouTube.
Everything. The second you sit down, just press record.
We should. I think we're going to start doing that. But yeah, we definitely want to get on YouTube, because I know at work, I listen to a lot of YouTube. Like there's one guy called Mr. Ballin on YouTube that does like true crime and like mysterious and kind of paranormal stuff. And it's really nice. Like, I like seeing it, and you can glance over and see his examples and stuff like that.
Yeah. And not only that, but I mean, we have talked about it in like some of the episodes, but we have a janitor crew who comes in to our office, and we have like the motion lights. So you have to like pass by these lights in order for them to turn on, but they're sectioned. So there's so many times these janitor people come in and we know it's the janitors every time, but we're like, why
still
are the
checking.
lights on? Who's here?
Let me tell him.
And if we got that on video, people would be hysterical.
One of the first times it happened, we were in an office that didn't have windows, and we have since learned our lesson. So we go in an office that has windows now, but we had the door shut, no windows. It was like 7:30, 8 o'clock. It was late, and we didn't know that the janitors had come that late. And Caitlin went to open the door, and the motion sensor lights are on, and she did the one thing that you should not do. She slammed the door shut like as loud as she could, and she was like, oh my God, why are the lights on? Oh my God. And I was like, great, now they're gonna know we're here. Like, we're gonna die.
Yeah, like
if someone's out there.
Die before, we're definitely gonna die now.
Wasn't carrying or anything like that. So I pulled my pocket knife out, and we're like sprinting through the office with our bags, like
just some dude just like
literally he was like opening a trash bag, and he's like, okay.
Like, why do you have a knife?
Yeah.
These guys are crazy.
Yeah, we didn't. We weren't. We are.
Yeah. Every single time, though, like, you would not believe that even though we know it's the janitor every time, anytime we hear a noise out in the office, we are up at that window looking like, is this our time? Is this the serial killer?
There's been, because they could be in the kitchen, like where we cannot even see across the office, and the lights in the back come on because of that whole strip. And I'm like, do you see anyone? Is anyone out there?
They're probably crawling on the floor.
Literally.
Just army crawling.
Out from behind the window. It's so bad. But yeah, stay tuned for the chronicles of, is it a janitor? Are we actually going to get murdered? So.
Or is it something else?
Yeah, right. Don't do that. Yeah, so I think actually in between like big episodes, we're going to start doing like little episodes. What did you call them? It was really clever, actually.
It wasn't clever because I tried it on somebody else and they were like, what? Yeah. I was like, oh, okay, back to the drawing board.
Okay, I'll be the judge of this. I don't know what this is. I am a neutral party. What is it? Let me know.
Okay, so the segments are going to be like true ghost stories, or like
paranormal,
quote unquote true paranormal ghost stories. And I was going to call them the afterlifeless segments.
I thought it was cute.
I like that. That's awesome.
Yeah, because it'd be a play on our
I really like it when my voice goes up an octave.
Okay. That's great.
That's great.
That means he's lying.
Yeah, right? He's hiding the lie.
That's fine.
Afterlifeless. See, I like that because number one, branding. Like I said, it's kind of the same thing, but afterlifeless. I actually like that. That's good. Yeah. I like that.
I thought it was good. And I was like, it's like a dad joke, like in disguise, because everything else is like, that's a little corny.
Yeah. It's a little lame. But at the same time, it's like, there's a great paranormal podcast out there called Creepy.
Yeah, right. I know.
Really?
I know.
Really?
And what is the one? There's a true crime podcast called Morbid, and they're like, that sounds good, I think, honestly.
Yeah. Like, simple.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, it's a name.
Right.
It's like yes, a name's important and everything, but if you can have something I just like that idea too, because like I love that stuff. Like everything scares me too, like literally.
Yeah, same.
Everything. But for whatever reason, I love talking about paranormal stuff and like writing paranormal stuff and things like that. So like, that's cool. I'm excited for that
that'll be really fucking cool. But I think we've been talking about it a little too much because I think I have something going on in my own home recently. And oh my God, it's been crazy though. Like really.
We actually found out while we were researching for cases and we wanted to do some local ones, we were researching and we found out that there was actually I think it was 40 years ago, that a woman who literally worked in our building had gotten murdered. Like in the last time anybody saw her, she was had worked late and she had come out to her car and they saw somebody had seen her talking to a guy by her car. but they found her in the trunk of her car in the parking lot of where we work. And so
it just follows us, really.
Yeah, some like creepy stuff started happening in the office, and I was like, it's Michelle. Like, she knows that like we're true crime people and that we'll investigate her murder. And she just wants us to figure out who it was.
It was so funny telling people in the office though, because they literally were like, no, like you're bullshitting, like stop. And we're like, no, really, like look it up. It happened. But yeah, the motion sensor lights were starting to go off in like locked doors, and like they literally restricted our key fob access to certain doors. They put up cameras and everything else. As far as I know, nothing came of it, but like it was a whole thing for a while because they could not figure it out.
I like came into the office one day and like a garbage can was like it wasn't just toppled over by this person's desk. Like it looked like it had been thrown with like the headphones and the cord all out, papers on the floor. And I was like, what the heck?
Yeah. That doesn't just happen.
Exactly.
Right. And it happened a couple times. It happened to one of our other coworkers too. She came in and all her stuff that was on her desk was like thrown all over.
Yeah.
Y'all got a ghost.
I'm just saying.
Yeah. And in my house, it's been, my roommate watches that kind of stuff too. And we talk about it all the freaking time. And I was in the laundry room one morning. It was like 2 weeks ago, maybe? It wasn't long ago. And I swear I heard this lady, she was like, hello. And I like froze and I was like, could it be the neighbor?
Hey.
It sounded like, yeah, right? Like, are you in the house? It's like 7 a.m. So no. And it sounded like clear as day across my living room. And then I was telling Skylar about it later and he was like, shut up. Like, I thought I heard last night, like, he couldn't tell what was said, but he heard a woman's voice. And I was like, it's not funny. Like, don't do that to me. And he was like, no, like, I'm serious. And I was like, great. That's wonderful. Like, that's just what I need. And then my other roommate had a dream about some lady calling. He couldn't move. He had sleep paralysis and he had some dream about some lady calling his name and couldn't see her or anything. And then he eventually like was able to get up. He was on a boat because he works somewhere with boats. So he sleeps on the boat. Well, he was able to get up and he went out on the dock and he saw this guy holding a ring. I don't know if it was a wedding ring or what. And then he went back down and he was able to wake up, but that was really weird. And then the other night I was out of town and he was telling me when I got back, he got up to go in our room and our lights were flickering and they're on a dimmer. He said if the dimmer was moving, he would have been like fucking out for the night and like slept on the lawn. But yeah, he said the lights were flickering a bunch until he messed with them and my dog was a little freaked out. So I don't know. It could just be a coincidence of events, but I don't know.
So I haven't talked about this a ton on my podcast, especially lately, but I 150,000% am a believer in all that stuff. Yeah. Because I used to work at a really old building that was 100% haunted. And I had like multiple encounters with angry spirits.
Yeah.
Like stuff happened to me that I'm just like, nah, like I saw
people
stuff.
Would think I'm crazy if I told you. Yeah.
And there's one story I have that like, I don't talk about it much anymore because basically I had a full on conversation with a ghost.
Whoa. Like that's cool. That gave me chills. Oh my God. Yeah.
And like, there was a basement and there was ghosts in the basement and stuff would grab me and I would see stuff. And like, I wasn't a believer in that stuff at all.
Yeah. Right. Until it happens. And then you're like, hey, something grabbed me. I must've got my shirt caught on something. I look back and, oh, hey, there's an old lady staring at me. That's interesting. Yeah. Like, yep. That happened. Something like that happened to me one time too. I was in my
story.
Yeah. Oh, it makes me tear up sometimes because it was so freaky. But like,
she told me the story and I was like,
it's just crazy. Like people would think I'm insane if I told everyone, but it's fine. You know, I'm already insane. So it's cool. But I was sitting on my couch one day and the way it was laid out, I could see down my hallway from the couch and there was a room like right there where you couldn't see it, but you could see the doorway and then the hallway curved and I couldn't see past the wall, you know? And there was an apparition that was just walking back and forth down that back hallway. And every time it would get more clear and it was a lady wearing like an old dress. And I was young. So I called my mom and I was like, hey, like something's in the house. And she was like a person and I was like, no. And she ended up staying on the phone with me. She was on her way home. I was at the front window. And when she was on the street, she was like, hey, why don't you go try to talk to it? And I was like, are you fucking insane? I was like, are you fucking insane? And
that's suspicious.
Yeah. Right. And then she was like, it's fine. Like, I'm in the driveway. Just go ask like why it's there. I was like, okay. So I went to the beginning of the hallway and oh my God, she walked out of my room and I was like, or she walked into the room and I was like, who are you and why are you here? And she walked down the hallway. And then instead of going back in my room, she came down the hall towards me. And my mom was walking in the door at this point, and I was like on the phone with her still. And I was like, oh my God, it's coming down the hall towards me. And there were these two closet doors. And the one that was closest to me, when she got to that, there was this really bright light and she reached out for me and then she was gone. And I fell down. I remember I crawled over to my mom. I was crying, like holding onto her leg. And I realized my cross necklace was gone. And a couple months later, I was cleaning my room and I went out to get a trash bag out of the kitchen. And I walked back in my room and my cross necklace was sitting on my bed. And I still have it to this day. It was insane. Like, everyone's like, you're crazy. And I'm like, probably, but it happened.
So you know that she lives in that necklace now, right?
Great. I'm going to go throw it in the ocean.
Right. Sorry, got it in the podcast.
That's probably who's in my house right now. She's like, I'm back.
Yeah. What's up, girl?
Yeah, great.
One
heart palpitation.
I need a new friend.
To go a little bit more lighthearted with this for a second, like, because that's I think it's an awesome story because I didn't like live it.
Yeah.
But like I had at the same place, it was a guitar store, and we had apparently it used to be a crematorium, the building. Oh. Which is why.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Shit went down. And I did a whole podcast on it, like forever ago, for a Halloween special with one of my old co-op students. And I go into extreme detail about it, but there was one spirit that was, because I always said to him, I'm like, you would walk into that building. Like, I walk in there in the morning and I would just be like, I am not safe here.
Yeah.
Every morning, not like once in a while. Every morning I'd walk in and just be like, I'm not safe here.
Right.
And the basement was like super old. Like, the building was over 100 years old. So you would walk into that basement alone in the store and you'd be like, I am not safe. I need to leave here right the fuck now. It was bad. And but that all aside, things would start to happen when I'd be standing. So like, the counter was front of the store's here, doors over here, counters here. So I'd be standing there, like, just kind of minding my own business, whatever. And something would just hit me in the face, like a guitar pick or something. And I'd be like, the hell?
That's rude.
Or a pack of guitar sticks would just fall off the wall. Oh, no. And this would keep happening. And I'd be like, okay, I'm going crazy.
Yeah.
And it happened so much that I named the spirit, because I was like, I needed to justify it, because I'm like, there's no way that this is happening in my head.
Yeah.
So one day we had still a good friend of mine. He's standing in front of me, and I didn't know this guy at the time. He's standing there. We're finishing our transaction, and from behind me, he saw it too. The way the guitar string sat on the rack, you had to lift it up to get it out of the rack.
Yeah.
And he's standing there looking at me, but he can see behind me. And all of a sudden he just sees, and it just falls.
Oh my.
And he's like, and I'm like, did that pack of guitar strings just fall? He's like, yeah. I'm like, damn it, Randy. Why would you do that?
He's like, why, Randy?
So then he's like, this dude's crazy.
Yeah.
And I was like, nah, man, he's Randy. He's a douchebag. It's fine. Because I was like,
rearrange.
Yeah, he just likes to throw things. I'd be on the other side of the store, and just all of a sudden, I'd be like, Randy, for God's sakes, dude, come on.
Yeah,
it happened
to me.
Yeah, it happened a lot too. Yeah,
yeah.
It was weird. And then he followed me to my old job I had, and he stayed there. Luckily, for whatever reason, he didn't follow me here. Thank God. But so yeah,
Oh my gosh.
So that's why I fully believe your story. I don't think you're crazy or anything, because
Appreciate it.
People who have had experiences like that,
They understand.
even if they weren't that intense, like,
right.
you know, I never had anything go missing or anything like that.
Yeah.
So like, that's super intense for me. I'm like, Jesus, I don't know. Jesus, take the wheel. Like, I don't know.
You're like, maybe I shouldn't talk to her anymore.
Hey guys, this has been great, but I'm gonna go ahead and delete this audio. No. Sorry.
Literally.
Now
I don't blame you.
audio.
And I'm gonna be like editing the video of this back, and there'll be like something behind you guys. I'm gonna be like, I'm out. I don't need this. You know, not that I
hope
saw
not.
anything.
Oh my God. I'm worried that like, I know we've been talking about it. I've been like,
I'm not
Don't
gonna lie.
forget all,
I saw Kate earlier. I saw you kind of go like,
yeah.
continuously looking back.
Like, don't do that. Don't do that.
But on a much more softer note, something that I thought was really funny was early when you were you did an impression of Kate earlier that just made me laugh. You were and you just had this impression of it. I started like dying laughing because I was like, I love people doing impressions of people they were like are sitting right next to. I don't know why I just love that, but. Just to change the subject from something else.
Yeah.
It's funny because when she does the impression of me, it's like, obviously, that is Jet, by the way.
I was just about to say, I really hope that's your dog because
Hi, buddy.
I'm out. I don't need this.
I would
Fred.
turn out too.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be out too.
Like, turn around and it's not actually Jet. Like,
You hear him in the other room. It's like, okay.
like,
He did just go to the
Ghost
hallway
dog.
and like cry, but like, we're not gonna do that. We're not.
we're not going to acknowledge that he went to the hallway and did that. No, but
my
I always
gosh.
find it funny when she does that because it's always like the exaggerated part of my personality.
Of
But I
course.
do the same for her because like my exaggerated version of her personality is like very like, you know, I'm sophisticated and, you know, and so I'll do that. I'll be like, I am Brenna and I just, you know, I'm great.
Yep.
And we just like learn.
She's like, yeah, that
together
checks
to do
out.
that.
Yeah, it does. For sure. But yeah,
That's
no.
fantastic. But again, that's how you know that you guys have that chemistry in it. And, you know, it would make, if I didn't already listen to your podcast, I'd be like, I want to listen to your podcast now because like you guys have this fun banter and you can tell that like you just have that chemistry. So it's awesome to see. And,
It's amazing.
you know,
Yeah. For
you know,
sure.
now having spoken to you guys this amount of time, it's like, yeah, okay. This all makes sense. And talking about paranormal stuff and things of that
It is
nature, you
weird.
know?
Yeah.
She like matches my level of just fucking weird. It works out.
Yeah.
But yeah.
That's fantastic. Well, that's cool. Well, I'm excited, guys. I'm excited for you to keep doing your thing. You know, I'm genuinely a fan of what you do, so I'm excited for it. And I'm excited for the after Lifeless when that happens. I'm not going to lie. I'm probably going to be a little more leaning towards that stuff just because
Hey, go
I
for
love
it.
that. But
That's cool.
I'm
And
excited.
if we get good feedback, we'll probably start doing like full-size episodes here and there of it. That would be really cool.
Yeah.
So like if you get a bunch of emails from random spam accounts, you'll do it? Or like, okay.
He's like, how many accounts does it need to be?
How many are we talking here? Like,
Yeah, exactly.
you'll just be like, podcast is great.
Yeah.
Like, love that content. Do more of that.
Yeah.
It's like, you know, Hotter Show 2, or it's like Show Hod 3, like just such a dumb.
Yeah. You're like, all right, man. Like,
All right, dude,
I
listen.
get
Real
it.
familiar.
Yeah.
It just sounds like
So.
something I've heard before.
Yeah. The Show Hod. It's like, come on, man. What are you doing?
Yeah. So, yeah. So,
That's
I
fantastic.
think we'll do it, honestly.
Yeah.
We love stuff
For
like
sure.
that.
Awesome. Well, I'm excited for that, guys. So if people want to check you out, where can they find your podcast?
literally any podcast platform. We are on Google, Spotify, Apple. Oh my, some of them I've like never even
Audible.
heard of.
We're
Yeah.
even on Audible.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, for sure.
And then of course, like I think you said it, the Anchor, just the Anchor.
No, we're on Anchor too.
Actual Anchor. Shout outs
Yeah.
to Anchor. They are the real MVP of
Oh
the
my
podcast
God,
world,
literally.
man.
Lifesavers for sure. That's definitely like where we got our start and like helped things flow.
Yeah.
It was so easy with them.
Yeah. But yeah, so we are pretty much on everything, all major ones, and even some smaller ones. But you can go to Anchor and it'll tell you exactly where we are. But yeah. And then, of course, we always we try to post it to our Facebook. So you could go search Lifeless Podcast on Facebook, and then we link it. So you can just find it that way as well.
Awesome. Very good. Well, before I let you guys go, one quick question. Do you guys have like, and I'm sure this is a very broad question, but just kind of a quick thing. Do you guys have like a favorite kind of true crime, like file or case or something that like you always kind of come back to, something that's maybe unsolved? Or
It was the first case that I covered was John Benet Ramsey, because at the time it was unsolved. I think that they're looking into, or they did solve it. I know they had someone in jail for it that said they did it, but they found out that he's not the one that did it.
Yeah,
but that case really stuck with me because it was so old and people thought it was the family or the brother or people that were coming in to work on the house. And it was really sad. It was a little girl. She was a beauty pageant girl. And that case sticks with me.
I just want to say that it's so funny to me that she says that, because obviously, like, if you're in the true crime world and like you're very into it, like that's a huge one, and everybody like knows about it, you know? And so I just find it so funny because she talks about it like it's not going to be well known because she doesn't know that it's
okay. Well, look, if you're not into true crime, you might not, but
listen, I knew about that, but like, okay, well, maybe some people don't. You know?
Maybe some of your listeners don't. So there's the gist.
She's like, it's just a summary.
Awesome.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, like, who cares if it's like a popular one? It's like, hey, I like this one. This is one that got me into it. Like, there's something to be said for that.
And it's right. It's why they're so popular. It's because it's just so shocking, you know, the information.
We had the most views we've had on a case on that one.
Yeah.
Actually, I think.
Yeah. So there, for me, since I've been doing it for, you know, so long, and I've consumed a lot of true crime content, I have a couple. I can't tell you about one of them because it's actually the case we're going to be covering after this.
Okay.
But it's not unsolved. But the one that really messes with me, I think his name was like Adnan. And this guy, he traveled, like he would take trips to different states to plant like what he called like kill buckets of stuff, like, you know, it would have like a knife or a gun or like whatever he wanted
chains,
to do. Stuff like that. And he would hide these all over the United States and remember where he hid them. And if he ever got the urge, he would just go on a business trip and he would kill in another state. And it took them so long to like catch him, because obviously when you're out of state, like people aren't looking at that.
Well, not only that, but he didn't have like, serial killers sometimes have like a type. He specifically said like he did not have a type. Like you could be in a group, you could be an old person, you could be like,
and he did it that way because he wanted it to be himself to be hard to catch. And then when they finally did catch him and he was telling them that, he had stopped because he was going to tell them like, oh, I've killed more people. He stopped telling them that because he was like, I don't want any of this to come out. Like, I have a daughter and I don't like, I'll tell you, but you cannot let this get like sensationalized and big so that my daughter knows about it. And of course, that's not the way the media works. And he, you know, little things started coming out and he ended up like taking his own life before they ever got to hear about all of the things that he possibly did, which means that there are victims out there that he probably was, you know, responsible for, and we're never going to know.
They don't know.
Yeah.
Right.
And so that one just really stuck with me because it's like so scary. Like, you know,
you never know.
Yeah.
You really don't. And that's another thing that's like super scary, like just an aspect in general. Like something could happen to you and they could never find you. They could never find you. They could never find what happened to you, any of that. And that's terrifying.
It's okay. I don't have anxiety right now. It's fine.
You said that just gave me anxiety. Jesus. All right.
Quick. Hold on.
Thankfully, you guys don't have motion sensor lights in your house, or you'd be.
I have motion sensor lights outside my house. I should get some.
Oh, geez. Okay.
Yeah, I really do. Okay.
Fine.
That's fantastic. That's awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming on. It's been a blast getting to talk with you and learning about your podcast and your history with true crime and everything. And guys, I'll have all the links down below for the Lifeless podcast, so go check them out.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure. Yeah, it was fun.
Anytime. Yeah.
Well, definitely once the, again, the after Lifeless, maybe we'll have to link up again for something.
That would be cool.
Talk some ghost stories.
Yeah.
Maybe you could be on it and tell some ghost stories.
That would be cool.
That would be awesome. I would be honored. I have a lot. I really do. So
we'll have to do that.
Yeah, we're doing that.
Awesome. Sounds great. All right. Thanks, guys.
All right. Bye.
Hey, you. Yeah, you. Listen to The Hotter Show right now. Are you in a band? Maybe you're a business owner of some kind, a performer, maybe a pro wrestler, an event promoter, an athlete, or maybe you're just an everyday person who needs some photo editing done. You need a great graphic design guy, and have I ever got the hookup for you? My man and close personal friend, Mr. Jason Rees from Jaybird Digital Arts. Whether you need logos, t-shirts, stickers, tickets, business cards, banners, menu, brochures, flyers, posters, Facebook banner videos, door hangers, photo editing and restoration, print ads, lyric video editing, signs, notepads, window clings, letterhead, bookmarks, programs, magnets, greeting cards, calendars, rack cards, invitations, envelopes, pens. Jason will work with you to develop a style that is unique to you and that tells everybody just how special your business, event, or you personally are, and you will stand out from the crowd. On top of the fact that he does offer free delivery between Cobourg, Ontario and Kingston, Ontario, message him today right now for a free quote. That's right, a free quote. Tell him about your idea. You got something outside the box, he will make it happen. With great rates and service, you cannot go wrong. I've used Jason literally for everything over the past 3.5 years, and I cannot say enough good things about the man himself and his work. So contact him today on the web at jaybirdddigitalarts.com or on social media under Jaybird Digital Arts. That's Jaybird digitalarts.com. You can also email him at jaybird.digital.arts@gmail.com. And always keep in mind that his business is successful when your business looks good.
All right, gang, there is my chat with Kait and Brenna from the Lifeless podcast. I hope that you guys enjoyed it. It is just called Lifeless Podcast. I keep wanting to call it the Lifeless Podcast for some reason, but it's Lifeless Podcast. Go check it out if you have not for some reason. You can tell by the banter they have and just the relationship they have. They have a really, really fun, but very down to it right when they get into the topic of the whatever true crime case that they're covering. All that kind of fun banter is still there, but it gets really serious, and they really do their research and they really love it. So go check them out. There's a lot of true crime podcasts out there, but I've never come across one like Lifeless. So go check it out. Kait and Brenna, thank you guys so very much again for coming on the show. It was an absolute pleasure. And I want to hype you guys up because next week I am having my man Mike Penny from the Jailbirds back on to do a showcase, track by track commentary of their brand new EP that just came out last week when I had him on, all about their brand new EP. We're going to break it down, which of course is entitled Jungle. And we're going to do track by track kind of commentary. Mike's going to break it down for us. We're going to hear the whole thing. If you haven't heard it yet, we're going to hear it then. And Mike's going to break it down for us. So look forward to that. I'm very excited to be able to have Mike on again. But with that, I am ready to roll out of here. Thank you guys so very much for tuning in. It means the world to me. I very much appreciate it. If you haven't yet, be sure to hit that subscribe button. Leave a like if you can. Leave a rating if you can. That very much helps me. And check out some other of the past 292 episodes of The Hotter Show. We're rolling towards episode 300 still, folks. I got 2 things planned. So if one falls through, I got something else planned. It's going to be, both of them are really exciting. So here's hope. Maybe I'll do both anyway. Screw it. We'll see what happens. But either way, I'm going to sign off here. So guys, thank you so very much again. Give you the old patented audio fist bump for my listeners on just the audio devices. And of course, the patented video fist bump. Boom. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, and I'll catch you next time on The Hotter Show. Take it easy, guys.